So, good morning, hello. As Hendrik's mentioned, CY2. I'm going to jump over to the demo, which is far more interesting. And the subject at hand is student communications today. When we created Connect, we actually looked at a way to enable students to be more empowered when it comes to communication from the institution to the student, and even communication from the student back to the institution. And we actually looked at different ways of communicating to... Why, the mic is actually... There's an enormous echo in my voice, I hear. But otherwise, I can also speak without a mic. I don't care, but... Okay.
I think it was both mics were going.
No problem at all. To say, okay, we're going to move beyond email as...
Turn the mic up, sorry. Just the one mic.
Okay. I'm on.
You're on.
My side, at least. Okay, right. Okay, it irritates me, so that's the problem. Maybe it's because of this one over here. Voila. So maybe that's better. So in order to increase responses from students when it comes to communication, we actually looked at creating a omni-channel communications model whereby we are able to actually send messages from PeopleSoft or any other system, so to say, towards Connect, and from Connect then to other channels for communication that students actually might want to use when they're actually communicating with the institution. And as you can see over there, there is a number of channels that we've actually created till now: Modo, Canvas, Slack, Teams, in order to actually enable the user, be it a student or actually be it an advisor or be it a administrator, to actually communicate with Campus Solutions or to get communication from Campus Solutions in the tool of choice, I would like to say. So, and looking at particular use cases when it comes to these particular communications, we looked at things like, okay, what do we do around recruiting, enrollment, student support, as Hendrik was already mentioning as well, career, workforce management, alumni. There's all kinds of things you can do when you actually start to communicate to students, of course, and when you're able to communicate to students in the tool that they actually would like to use to actually get this communication at, it is a much better, let's say, experience for both, I would say, the person sending the message, knowing that there will be a larger group of people actually opening those messages, as well as for the student who actually has the ability to decide where he wants particular messages to go. So with Connect, we're able to actually tell as a student, okay, where do I want to actually get these messages? Now, what I want to show today is quite a lot of demos, so that's why I'm actually moving through the slides pretty fast, because I feel that the actual meat of the whole demo, or the meat of the presentation should actually be the demo here. So what I want to show is you a number of things that are possible with Connect. Connect is possible to send communications in batch, based on, if you're looking at Campus Solutions at least, based on population selection, and then being able to actually send out messages to students on a personalized basis. What I like a lot myself is actually the event-driven communications, whereby something happens in the system and either be it one student or everybody in a particular class or somebody actually getting, in this context, for instance, financial aid, be able to actually get those messages on an event-driven basis. So when the user actually clicks save or clicks a button, the message goes out to the student and actually reaches the student where he wants to get the messages. Approving a request or interacting with a chatbot are things which actually are also possible with Connect. Now, if I just actually go into Campus for a second here. So, I already noticed yesterday that we need to go to 125 at least. For you to all, that's even less fun today. We're going to go for 150, it doesn't matter. Voilà. So that actually makes it easier to read. So Connect lives largely outside of campus. It's a cloud service that actually is built by us, that actually lives outside of campus. But in order for campus to be able to communicate, to connect, we've created a number of components where we actually can use, that we can use to actually communicate from campus to Connect, and then Connect actually disperses the information towards different channels and towards the students or other people that actually need to get those messages where they want to get them. And as well, we've created a user inbox within campus to be able to actually send a message to a student that actually is sensible of nature, for instance, whereby we are actually only sending a message saying there is a message waiting for you, please actually sign on to Campus Solutions, and then we'll actually give you the content of the message, because then at that time we are sure we know who you are because you've signed on to Campus Solutions to actually get that message. And the beauty with that as well is that when you actually send somebody a message that actually is opened in the user inbox, we're able to actually track that you opened it because you're in campus. So the moment that you actually open that message, we know you've opened the message. And that means that you can actually track out of, let's say, 1,000 or 2,000 or 20,000 messages that you send, what's the percentage of those messages that actually get picked up and get read by students. Now, within Connect, there's two pieces. There is the actual sending of information, and also there is a piece where we actually are using Connect to create and maintain directory structures within Modo. Specifically for Modo, we did a number of things where we actually are able to create users within Modo, create groups within Modo, synchronize groups with Modo. As circumstances actually change, people actually are no longer part of a particular group, so those groups within Modo need to be managed. All of those things are actually in Connect, but the, let's say, main focus for Connect is really to send out messages. So, what we did is we actually created a run control page based on notification framework in Campus Solutions, standard functionality, and we've enhanced that a little bit to actually be able to send out messages through notification framework to the different channels that students actually decide to have messages sent to. And as the notification framework works on the basis of population selection, we're able to say, okay, we're going to create a query. That query, in this case, for instance, is going to actually send out a message on the basis about particular class information to a group of students that actually are in that class. So if you're familiar with population selection, then this is a relatively logical conversation. If not, population selection allows you to select a group of people from PeopleSoft using either a query or an Excel sheet or anything else that you, or even a, what's the first thing? Oh, I never use it. That's why. Oh, equation engine, of course. Sorry, or an equation engine to select a group of people that you would like to actually do a process with. And in this case, the process that we're doing is sending out messages. So we have a user, we have a notification consumer, and that notification consumer has multiple templates. This is all standard functionality. We didn't actually touch this at all. It is already existent. You can actually use it every day of the week if you want to in your environment as well. What we did is actually we added to that the ability to actually have choices on where you want to send these messages and who should actually get those messages. But the actual communication that you're going to be sending is defined within notification framework. You can define as many variables as you like for instance, their %1, and in your query, you select those variable fields, and actually then those get pushed into the output, into the notification that gets sent out via Connect. And then, as mentioned, we actually added a little bit here on our own page at the bottom, where we can say, okay, we're going to be sending out these messages to the preferred channels of the students, or we're going to actually force this particular message to go to a particular service. So although the philosophy behind Connect really is that students are actually in charge of their own decisions where information should go, there is always also the side of the story where the institution says, but I'll be deciding this time where this message is going. So in that case, you have a force service definition that you can use to actually send out those messages to a specific channel instead of all, so to say.
At San Bernardino, what they didn't want to have happen is students, forget to opt in or to opt out, and so therefore it kind of obviates the utility of the channel. So what we've done for them specifically is Modo is an always-on channel. So they will always get a message into the Modo channel. The other channels, are in the process of deciding on what to do. So that way we could, it doesn't sort of break the value of the whole process.
Thanks. Yes. So you're even able to say, okay, I want to actually have a force service to a particular channel, but I'm also going to allow the students to actually get the same message in other channels as well when we actually also are using the user preferences. Ability, in the context of Modo at least, the ability to actually define the style of a particular message, either information or alarm or warning, so to say, which is a feature which is in Modo, and we're just utilizing that to actually indicate the severity of the message when we're actually sending out to Modo. Same actually counts, for instance, for Teams, where we also have the ability to say, okay, take a different color for the message and a different color for the indicator on the message in cases that you're actually, for instance, sending an alarm message or something like that. Push notification is also relating to Modo in this context. Modo is an app on your mobile phone, so it also has the ability to actually literally show you a push notification message when you actually are on your phone, but you're not actually connected to Modo as such. Same counts for the start and the end dates. Those are actually relevant for Modo as well, because that actually indicates how long those messages will be visible for students in Modo. Now, if I just actually say, okay, let's go Canvas for a second here. Now we're going to send this to these 7 people. And there's all kinds of things going to ping and pong in a moment because I have switched on everything possible. So probably very quickly we're going to see all kinds of things actually pop up. But the intent of actually sending these messages is, in this way, is actually to have a either scheduled or at least controlled batch notification principle, whereby we are actually sending these messages out to larger groups of students. Voila. Ping, pong, ping. Now everything is going to ping and pong, of course. It takes a second. That's not because of us. Sometimes the internet's not that fast, but if you can see on my screen at the top there as well, there's now messages coming into my WhatsApp, there's messages coming into my email, there's messages coming into my SMS at the moment, and there's also messages coming into my Canvas, if all is well. Which I can't read unless I take my glasses. But so this is, for instance, in this case, Canvas, so to say, where we're actually getting this message from PeopleSoft to indicate that there is particular information which is important about my class, and the fact that my class now is actually going to be online instead of on-site for the next week, so to say. Interestingly enough, because all my channels are on, there's actually also an indicator that there's actually a process that has run in PeopleSoft. We're not just sending messages to students, we're also able to actually pick up things like, okay, a long-running process for an administrative user is now finally finished after 4.5 hours. How about we send a message to the person the time that the actual message is actually, that the process is actually finished? And not just by email, because at that time I may be in my car, and therefore I would like to actually look at that information maybe as an SMS or as a WhatsApp message or something like that. Now, next to batch, we actually have the ability to actually send instant messages, so to say. So we're actually just defining the recipients, the text, the title, the message that we're actually going to send. And with that, we're actually then sending out these messages on the fly to one or more people that are actually going to get those messages. The Connect group, Connect group synchronization actually allows you to create groups that you can then push out to other tools, like for instance Modo, so that you can actually define a group of people who have a particular specific attribute, like the first-year students or the second-year students or something like that. And we actually select those attributes on the basis of queries, and then push those out to the other tool. In the cases that those tools, like for instance Modo, have a ability to flag people to actually be part of a group. Now, as said, in my head, it becomes really interesting the moment that you're actually able to say, okay, if I make a change as an administrator that I would like to actually be, let's say, that change is relevant for students in the context of, for instance, a group of students that are in a particular class, the moment that I actually change my meeting pattern, how about I then actually inform the students about the meeting pattern change? So, let's say that I'm going to, as of next week, let's not work on Sunday, let's work on Monday. If I make a change to my meeting pattern, yes, thank you. Everybody who does in student records knows this message very well. But once this change has been made, messages are now going to go out to anybody who's actually enrolled in this class, as you can hear, ping. So anybody in this class is now going to get a message to say that this particular class has now changed its time and has a new meeting pattern. So, and as I mentioned to people as well earlier, this particular event-driven messaging is fueled by event mapping people code, meaning we are able to hook up this particular type of messaging to any component and any action in the whole of PeopleSoft. There is simply a piece of code that we actually connect via event mapping technology, that is PeopleSoft, how do you call this? Which is standard PeopleSoft people code technology, and therefore we're able to actually add this kind of logic to anywhere in the system. We've pre-created the logic. The only thing that a administrator or a technical person needs to do is actually explain or decide where he wants or she wants this particular hook to be linked onto, what particular action you would like to send, and what message you would like to send, and then everything else is actually already configured. Steve?
It's not touching core functionality, right?
No, nothing. No. There is nothing. I can easily say this because, and we are actually a company that has a lot of maintenance and a lot of projects, so I am very aware of impact of code on existing environments. There is literally zero impact of Connect on anything that's been done in Campus Solutions. Zero. It's completely next to. There's nothing that actually is going to impact on anything like a PUM or a People Tools upgrade or anything like that. We're just configuring and we're utilizing configuration options that Oracle actually delivers, like event mapping, to actually enable you to have those kinds of event-driven messages sent whenever you want. Now, the philosophy of maintaining the schedule of classes, of course, grade roster, disbursement of aid, or anything that you would actually think is a relevant case where you would like to send a message to either one person or anybody in the context of, as said, a group, a course, a class, a program or plan, whatever it is, you can actually define it and then actually use it within the system. Now, just jumping back for a second here. On this page in PeopleSoft, the user has the ability, if you give him the permission to actually define which of the channels he or she would like to actually utilize. As you can see, we've got email, we've got phone, we've got WhatsApp, we've got SMS, we've got Modo, we've got Canvas. And with these particular switches, the user, if you give them the opportunity, as said, we have the ability to actually say, okay, I would like to get my messages in these particular channels. One thing that actually is on the absolute imminent is that word? No, maybe not. Let's say the nearby, that's maybe better. In the nearby future, one of the things that we're going to add to this is actually be able to say I would like particular categories of messages to go to particular channels. And it was actually not myself who actually thought of that, but there was somebody in the demo that said, Ernst, can you do this? And I'm like, that's a really good idea, actually. So we're going to add a category logic to this particular screen whereby users can say, okay, if it's important, I would like to get it here. If it's actually, let's say, commercial or it's advertisement, then actually put it there, or don't send me any advertisement messages at all. So in that sense, we're actually able then to actually have those channels even be more granular, defined towards the different types of messages that we're sending. But any user actually has the ability to connect to this page and actually set up their own Connect preferences. And just to give you a feel about how this actually looks in Teams, for instance, if you're actually using Teams in your institution anyway, either for administrators or for advisors or for students or for everybody, you're actually able to connect within Teams. So that the user who actually is connected to Teams will actually get messages from Connect in Teams if he actually would like to get those messages over there. Now, let's see if I can get this to work. Bleep. Now, one of the things we actually are really looking forward to is actually using Connect in the context with a chatbot. Because sending out information to students is nice, but it's not actionable by itself. You hope, one, that they read the message, and secondly, you hope that they actually act upon the message. But if we're able to actually, with the message, send them a direct link to a chatbot, we're able to actually make the whole thing far more actionable than it was before. Now, oh, I was already there. That was... No. See if I can get my notification inbox in. I'm sending myself too many messages, and then of course, well, I'll just do it like this. Yes, I'll sign in again, it's fine. Switch to English here for a second. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Thank you. That's working well. You know what? I'll do it on my phone. I'll do it on my laptop, because it's nice to show it, but it's nice if it actually also works when we show it. So the intent is that we're actually sending out a message, for instance, to actually have an appointment with your advisor. Right? In PeopleSoft, we can indicate if somebody already has met with their advisor, yes or no, relatively easily. So what if we actually would say, okay, listen, dear Alex, we're actually noticing that you haven't actually made an appointment yet. How about you use our chatbot to actually make that appointment? And then when he actually clicks on that particular message, and he actually clicks on the link, he actually goes to the chatbot, which is in this case a chatbot which is connected to University of Amsterdam, one of our clients, where he then can actually make an appointment with his advisor on the screen there and then. So this is our booking assistant chatbot that actually allows you to, as a student, to make an appointment with your advisor. So I indicate who I am. by entering my email address. Please hold on while I actually have your coaching time slots. Okay. Fantastic demo day today. Oops, I'm encountering a spot of trouble. Let me see if we can actually get this working then.
Yeah, I would move on.
Yeah, it's such a shame because it actually, of course, worked an hour ago, and then it actually doesn't work the moment that I actually would like it to work. But the intent, at least, is, and I think that's for me the most important part of this, is when you use communication in combination with a chatbot like this to actually make an appointment with your advisor on site or online with your chatbot, you're actually making it all far more actionable, and you're making it far more efficient for a student to actually make those appointments and actually get those payment scheduling done or whatever you actually would like to do with your chatbot in this case. So it makes it far more usable for students and far more easy to actually do particular actions in the system. Now, kind of lost on, yes.
So since we're having some demo issues, what I thought I'd do is kind of turn this back around. Are any of you communicating with your students in different modalities than email? Or is it pretty much email? And maybe a show of hands, is anybody doing anything other than email?
Robocalls? Robocalls?
Robocall, oh boy, I bet they love those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We do some SMS.
You do some SMS.
Some other social media, but not this type of communication.
What kind is it? Just sort of...
SMS is emergency type things.
Ah, okay.
Then we also have for social media announcements of things to kind of broadcast to let them know.
Like out to Instagram or that kind of thing? Okay, cool.
That sounds nice. So, I just want to point out a few key features from the tool in this sense. And I love the fact it actually can send messages to students, but I also feel that a university is more than just students. So in that sense, any user in PeopleSoft can get these kinds of messages from the system in the channel that they would like to have, as long as they actually set up their preference to do so. So in the context of exception query output, problems in your system, notifications to advisors, groups of instructors, or anything like that, those can also be sent through Connect. It is not specifically only for students. It is absolutely very important for students, but you can also have other audiences that you would like to actually send information to. It's very easily extendable. It's simple to configure. There are a number of APIs to other applications already, as I actually shown, but it's really easy as well to actually create your own connections to other tools. There is an API on Connect that you can actually hook onto from a target system or even from a source system to actually send messages to or from Connect to this other system.
So it could be, for instance, HCM.
Yes, I mean that is absolutely one of the things that is on the list, in my head at least, is to say, okay, it's not PeopleSoft Campus Solutions specific as the source only. It's a many-to-many system. So any system that can send a message to Connect can then also actually send out those messages to other systems afterwards. So as said, as you mentioned, either HR or your scheduling system that sends a message to Canvas, or your finance system that actually sends a reminder to people for payment, let's say depending on where you actually have your debtor information, for instance. It could well be that there's another system that needs to send a message to the student than just Campus Solutions. So be aware that in that context, we're actually able to send messages from anywhere to anywhere. Even though there is a, as I said, easy, quote, quote, easy, but easy way of actually connecting new systems on a technical level, when you're actually connected, everything else is actually functional. The whole notification framework is front end. There's no code. Yeah, there's code behind the scenes, but you don't need to use code to send anything through the notification framework. As mentioned about the event-driven notifications, that code line is there. All you have to do is hook it up to the messages that you would, to the events that you actually would like to create those messages for. So it's really focused on functional folks. Normally, nobody needs to actually touch it on a technical level anytime, unless you're actually really focusing on creating a new connection to a new system. But apart from that, everything else is actually functional of nature.
And from our perspective, I mean, we've built this so that it can be hosted by us, or if there are university requirements that you host, if it's sort of a in-house onboard application, private hosting, that works as well. So we've really tried to be very flexible about that.
Yes, and from an architectural point of view, as said, we have a number of apps or a number of channels already connected today. Messenger apps, student apps, Teams and others. Those actually connect to Connect, or we actually connect to those target systems through Connect, and Connect by itself actually is connecting to, in this case, PeopleSoft Campus Solutions, PeopleSoft HR, Finance, or any other third-party application. And as said, we're actually managing that through a combination of notification framework, things like, for instance, process scheduler messaging, any custom business event that you would like to actually send a message from, and or also people tools related notifications. So in HR, workflow messaging, in Campus Solutions nowadays, if you're using the forms in self-service, there's workflow notification there by people tools as well. All of those people tools notifications also flow through Connect to the channels that you would like to get to. And of course, there's a link in the message, and that is normal when it comes to workflow. For instance, you can then actually click the link in whatever channel you are in, open Campus, and then actually do the decision making as far as the workflow is concerned or anything else. Collaboration platforms, as mentioned, collaboration platforms. I would love to actually add Google there on top as well. I know there's a number of universities that are not actually in Teams and not in Slack, but they're actually in Google. So Google has the same kind of connectors as Teams and Slack have. So it's absolutely on the list as well to be connected to Google as well, to be able to also communicate to Google directly if necessary. The chatbot part is, I think, the future. Chatbots are one of the ways that students are going to communicate more and more with student systems, I'm 100% sure. And with Connect, in combination with these chatbots, we're actually able to connect and make the whole messaging more actionable than before. A few parting comments. I would like to say, anything that you send can be saved. So if you're thinking about compliance, if you're thinking about proof for messages that were sent to students, any message that you actually send can be saved. It's a choice, it's an installation option, it's a checkbox somewhere on the page, but we are able to either save the messages in Connect itself and or save the messages in PeopleSoft as well. We have some, as mentioned, some custom application configuration for instance, Modo and Canvas, because those systems have extra functionalities that they actually would like to utilize on their end, and we're actually communicating to those in the context of push messages, as said, and different levels of severity of messages and so on. Notification templates out of the notification framework, group management in context of Modo. really important within Modo itself, at least also to communicate to groups of students. We are able to manage the preferences for students as a university if we like, or we can actually give the students the ability to actually manage their own preferences. And as Hendrix mentioned in there are always-on channels that you can define as an institution that the student cannot actually switch off. And there's also channels, if you want, that actually the student can make decisions on themselves. And as mentioned by me, at least here, on my wish list is absolutely for the short future is to have the ability to be more granular as what messages go to which particular channel.
We're learning a lot from our initial customers, and one of the things that we learned from California State San Bernardino is the value of the data. And we met with San Bernardino's institutional research director, and what they're looking at is correlating the data that comes out of Connect. What messages were sent? Did students actually open it? Were there actions taken based upon different channels? And correlating that data with other data that they're using, as predictors of whatever it is, sort of all around student success, which is the obvious. But and so that's one of the things that we believe. There's great value in communicating with the students, but there's also great value in understanding really what's going on with those communications. And so that's, I think, going to be something really important. One of the things that we have not yet developed is a dashboard that would give you a view into the communications platform. And so that's sort of next. And the reason we haven't developed it is because we really want input from our customers as to what they want that to look like. And we hope that'll be done in the next 2 or 3 months.
Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah,
or I can. But
this is because this is a brand new application, and we don't have a huge body of work with this particular application. We're being really transparent, and we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is. We would offer a POC for the first handful of customers. It's basically what we did at San Bernardino. I know, Wendy, we talked to you about that. I mean, it's just something that we believe you'll require of us to prove that it works in your environment. So we're definitely willing to stand behind our claims.
okay. We're not done yet.
So thank you.
This afternoon you can see us as well when we're talking about admissions management. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for listening. I hope you actually enjoyed it. I don't know if there's any questions on your end. Last time there were actually questions about the last 5 seconds already into the meeting, so I actually forgot to ask if there were questions in between. Sorry, guys. Please.
I have 4 questions. They're all centered around financial aid.
Okay.
Have you guys worked with student financial planner, SFP?
The student financial planning. There is no connection yet to that. No, they haven't. Simply because nobody asked us. I don't know if the technical capability is there. I'm absolutely happy to check it out for you.
It's very difficult.
Oh. Well, but I actually know some people at Oracle, so I may actually be able.
There's an outbound event queue that is there for a lot of the events that occur. So I'm assuming if those can be consumed, you can tie email groups to those.
That's a great question.
Well,
That's something that's something we're implementing SFP right now as well. And so one reason we're here is the problem of you've got your source system, whatever that may be, in this case SFP, and you've either got to pull populations from their reporting tool into something else, which is basically just a query like it would be with PeopleSoft, or they do have some event-driven stuff as well that comes out of there that can be consumed, but there's no facility within that product itself to formulate the email, track that. It's all external to the system.
Okay.
and I can say that, if you figure this out, it might be a good opportunity for the company, because we've been live with SFP for 2 years, MSU, and the thing that is very difficult for us. We're struggling with emails. Like when you asked the communication type, I couldn't even raise my hand for email, unfortunately.
Oh.
So we're struggling with sending out communication for parent plus loans.
For parent,
So
Cross loan.
you had a slide about that, like people on campus. What about people not on campus?
Well,
Like parent plus
yeah, great point.
and delegate access.
And delegate, right.
So when I worked at Butler a couple of years ago, we actually enhanced or fiddled a tiny bit with the notification framework. In the end, it's configuration, but I call it fiddling because we actually did something which it was maybe not intended to do in the first place, but it is actually configuration in the end. We're able, through the notification framework, to send emails to or messages to anybody. So not just the person, the student itself, but also their parents. As long as we actually have their email address or their phone number. Yeah, of course, if we don't have their email address. Yes, no, of course. But if you look at ICER, for instance, yeah, but with yeah.
Some ideas that we're only about halfway through implementation, but we've already tackled that piece of communications.
Yes, so for Butler, we actually use it for ICER messaging, and let's say they're telling me at least that on the ICER, normally the email address of the parents is there, and then we're actually picking up the ICER email address from the ICER tables and actually sending them the information to the student as well as to the parent through notification framework to actually be out. And let's say, here we go again with notification framework in combination with Connect. The moment that you add it to Connect, it just actually goes wherever the student would like it to go, so to say, for them at least. And then you can still send it to the parents as an email. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure delegate would be easier, delegate access. The parent plus is the hardest test piece. And then what content is sent in the email to parents about financial aid? I saw you had a slide that said financially sensitive. So what is that content?
Let me see if I can actually, if I go here, no. No, I need to go here.
Is it composing the email?
No, it's in the let me say this one. Let me explain it differently. In the case that we're sending out a what we call sensitive message, we're only actually you have the ability as an institution to define the text, but you're going to write something like, "Hi, there is a message for you waiting in your inbox. Please click on the link to actually go there." The message itself, it's your definition because it's your message, but we're going to wrap the real message in a link, we're going to keep it in PeopleSoft in the inbox. We're going to make it a unique link for the person to go to, and that link is going to be automatically added to your communication or your text that you have defined as the wrapper text, let's call it that way. So, and there's a checkbox on the batch notifications, but there's also the ability when you're doing event-driven notifications to say, okay, this is always going to be a sensitive message, so always take my standardized message, put in the link when you're actually send out, click link, go back to campus, and then it opens automatically in your inbox the message that you're actually going to see. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. Yes, as well. Yes.
Since you use notification framework,
Yes.
we use interaction hub.
Yes.
I'm assuming that then translates to your product could be used in HR Finance, Campus Solutions. You log into Interaction Hub, notifications up at the top. That's your history of all your notifications.
Yes, I'm going to say yes, comma, I'm not going to say but I'm going to say comma, the notifications in the bell at the top of the screen are normally only PeopleTools-driven notifications. So I would suggest then to have perhaps the user inbox migrated to the hub level. In the end, the hub itself is also a PeopleSoft environment, right? So we're able to then actually put the inbox on that level because there's nothing against putting everything in the bell as such. Technically, it's not a problem as such. It's more that if you're sending out the messages anyway to, let's say, somebody's WhatsApp or SMS, then what's left in PeopleSoft is the inbox, so to say. And we have a nice screen that actually has the inbox in it. It's completely separated from anything that actually is delivered by Oracle. So if we would put it in the interaction hub, it could actually, it's user-based. So it doesn't matter where the messages come from, they will all actually then be in that particular inbox, be it then sent from finance, HR, whatever. Yes.
Does that answer the question?
I hope.
Because for us, embedded links, as an example, we never allow you to click a link and go to an embedded page. We allow you to click a link and come into our login, which does a lot of other things. So keeping it there and making sure they know when they go there, it's always somewhere.
Because they always start at the interaction hub. That's the front door. Okay.
No, it's absolutely possible. I don't see any technical problems there, let's say.
So Sharon, that's something that we would do as part of your, if you decide to evaluate, then we would build that and then prove that to you. Just, we don't prove it to ourselves as well. Same with student financial planner.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting. I mean, I'd love to have a conversation about student financial planner from my angle, because I know the product exists. I know the people who build it, not just Oracle as a company, but more, let's say, more into the weeds of who actually build it. But I haven't looked into what it actually does as far as communication and how you would actually either communicate in or let that communicate out to Connect. So.
Yeah, it's definitely designed to communicate outside of the product, but it's also designed to drive people back into the dashboard, whether they're a parent or a student.
Yeah.
So it's really it seems like to leverage it fully, an external notification like this would fit very nicely. And the main drive, since it is a lot of sensitive information, is to drive that user back into the environment.
Yeah.
As part of the gratification.
As said, absolutely, yeah, I've said this about a number of things in the last days. I'm absolutely more than happy to have these conversations, because some of these things I simply don't know. So I have to have feedback from you guys to actually understand what you want and how you would like to see it. And then we'll actually look into the technical capabilities and explain or see what we can do, so to say. But yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Great questions. Wow.
Thank you all.
We got more use cases.
Yes. Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.